After last week's tough reality check, we are back racing in PSGL around Qatar. Historically, Qatar is a track that's been very good to me, and I did a lot of preparation ahead of this week's race so I could hit the track running, as they say. I've managed to clock in a 120.3 in time trial, and I was ready to bring the fight to the rest of the grid.
Going into qualifying, I was very confident in my pace and that I would be able to fight for pole position. Coming around the final corner, opening DRS, draining the battery, it is only going to be 121.188, which is not fast. And I'm trying my best to maybe fit 4 runs into the qualifying session. But my teammate plugged me in, so I had to wait for the mechanics to wheel him in. And that cost me about a minute in the session. Onto the second lap now, the track has already ramped up. It's a lot warmer, there's more grip now. To turn 1 and turn 2, try to not clip the inside curve because it actually makes you bottom out. Keep it wide, but be brave on the throttle. Coming into turn 4, we put it into medium because we want to be saving the battery for sector 3. And coming into turn 6, brake right after the 50-meter board, throw the car in, hope it sticks, and be brave on the throttle on the exit to maintain momentum. To the right-hander, bleed off the brakes, and gotta be brave with the throttle here, but not too much, because it is easy to invalidate. And to the left-hander, place the car to the right as much as you can, hit the inside curve, run over him as much as you can without invalidating. And now we're gonna drain the battery down to about 40% and keeping it in hot lap mode for the remainder of sector 3. Now it's just about the line that you choose through this fast speed section, how much speed you can carry through these corners. You can see for a moment that I left overtake on for too long, so I'm gonna be running out before I come across the start finish line. Through the last corner, be brave on throttle, overtake on, DRS flaps wide open, up to the line. It is going to be a low 0.8, which is not too bad, because I thought that I would have time for 2 more laps. But
oh my god, again.
It was just not my day. The timing was just completely wrong.
No.
And on my 3rd run, I invalidate. I head into the pits, but this is where I experience my first screen freeze of the session. And I'm gonna try to go out, even though the game is telling me that I don't have enough time for a hot lap. And I'm gonna cut across the track as much as I can here to try to make it to the start finish line in order to start another flying lap. Cutting across the track. As long as we make it to the start finish line before the timer runs out, we are golden. Using the overtake on the exit, up to the line. Is it gonna be enough? No. We were too short by about 2 seconds. And quite a few people improved, so it is going to be a P5 start for me. And I decide to go for the very aggressive medium-hard strategy, going for the early undercut, knowing how difficult it is to overtake around this track. I'm gonna try to use the mediums in the early laps to my advantage and maybe gain a few positions so I make a play with an aggressive undercut because I was very confident in my pace. Out of turn 2, I actually managed to gain a position off the line. We move up to P4 from P5. And now it's just about getting used to the high fuel load. I dive down the inside in order to defend from the car behind, but I kind of boxed myself in, and I did not manage to get back on the power soon enough, and I moved back down to P5, which is not ideal. And I seem to struggle quite a lot in the first few laps with the high fuel load and the general understeery nature of the car in these opening laps. I have to get quickly up to speed and get used to the setup and the high fuel load if I want a chance to make use of my mediums before they die off. We're approaching the end of the first lap now, and I'm just not hitting my apexes, and I have to lift through this fast section, and I get my first track limit warning of the race. Not ideal, considering how easy it is to invalidate. Every corner around Qatar, you can get a track limit warning. The kick car in front of me gets a really bad exit. Everybody is kind of struggling in these opening laps, and that is going to bring us back into the fight. The kick is using a lot of battery, and he's going for the mega send down the inside. But with the mediums, compared to the hards on the Aston, he's just no match. And I see an opening, I go around the outside, I have a healthy amount of battery, which I use, and the outside line, giving me more momentum to make the move stick. into turn 4, I squeeze him maybe a little bit too much, but I think it was still fair, and we move up back up to P4. And at this point, I was starting, what is the correct play here? And the McLaren behind the Aston goes for a huge stand, and I get almost tapped around. And that was very much not ideal, because I lost so much race time compared to the top 3. But no matter, my race pace is actually quite decent here. And by the end of the lap, I've already caught up more than 4 or 5 tenths up to the train ahead. And the hard runner behind me, he's quite struggling. Moving on to lap 3, I'm getting really close to the harder runner in front of me, but I go a little wide, so does he. But this is our second track limit warning of the race, and this puts me in a very, very difficult position. Well, the Haas is moving very slowly through this high-speed section. I don't know whether he had damage or he just wasn't confident in his pace. Maybe he was on 2 warnings as well. But as you know, on 2 warnings, if you get a third one, it would mean a 3-second penalty for you. And in a track where the field is this close, it is going to be brutal. I make the move stick before we even get to the braking zone, and now I have to push because I am outside of the DRS from the 2 cars ahead. But I'm in a pretty comfortable position with P1 being on the same strategy as me. We could kind of work together here to maybe prolong our stint and put us in a better position with the freshest hard tires towards the end of the race. And I managed to stay within the DRS, which was my plan. And I'm just going to kind of chill here and hopefully not pick up any track limit warnings. Moving on to lap 6, however, this is where things start to get fun. I get a huge moment coming out of turn 2, a mega screen freeze, and it makes me lose 5 positions. And to be honest, I'm completely speechless. I was trying to not let it get to me, but I was gaining so much through the corners, but with my medium starting to fall off, sitting in the DRS train, being in the position that I'm in, through no fault of my own, and it's just not it's just a shitty feeling. I want to go for the move here, and I know I have better pace in clean air, but I don't want to ruin anybody's race.
I'm thinking.
And on to the next lap. The same thing happens here. Another screen freeze. I don't get what is going on here. Ever since the latest patch from CODEMASTERS, patch 1.14, I've just been experiencing screen freezes. Despite being on the much slower mediums, I was still gaining time to the train ahead. But since DRS is so powerful, it is super hard to catch up once you are out of it. And I've just been losing position and time through no fault of my own, which makes it all the more frustrating. I can't stop but feel absolutely robbed going into this race. And onto lap 11, I tried my best to push and get back into the DRS, but I did not manage to before the main straight. And that is why I'm going to dive into the pits this lap, go onto the harsh for the aggressive undercut. Maybe I can, in clean air, gain some time back to the leaders
Mega outlap
and hope to hold on. But the game was not done being funny with me that day. You'll see in a second.
Oh my god.
Another screen freeze. At this point,
too bad, then
I just don't know what to do anymore. I've tried updating my drivers. I've tried updating my BIOS, and
in the top 5, right?
it's still the same thing. And on lap 13, my mind was just not in it anymore. I lose the car, and there goes any hope of me ever making it back into the top 5. I'll be lucky to even get any points today, but I never give up, and I'm going to keep driving. Who knows what's gonna happen? Maybe a late safety car. Anything could still happen, and I'm going to keep fighting. Skipping a couple of laps, onto lap 15. I'm leading a small train, and again, it was about what, 2 or 3 seconds? A full screen freeze? Listen, if I lose maybe a tenth or 2, that's fine. It's micro stutter, who cares? Maybe I'll ghost into the car behind me, but a full 2 seconds? That could mean 3 or 4 positions when the field is this tight. And going into turn 6.
Oh, wow.
Another one. At this point, I completely surrender. Just do with me whatever you want, game. My spirit had been broken, and I'm fighting with back markers here. It's just such a shitty feeling. You know you have the pace, you know you have what it takes, you have the racecraft, the strategy would have worked had there not been any screen freezes today, but again, through no fault of my own, screen freezes. And there's just nothing I can do. Lap 23, with 6 racing laps to go, 6.5 racing laps to go, I'm still catching up to the cars ahead. The Red Bull, who has gone for the very aggressive hard to medium undercut, is a little over a second away. Was a little over a second away. Because I just had another screen freeze. But you know what? I said to myself,
just get the win
P10
now.
is still doable. He has a 6-second penalty. So as long as I stay within that 6-second window, him being on the much older mediums, I should have much better pace in clean air. So I'm going to try to hold on and get at least 1 point to my championship. It is not going to help. I'm still in the lead for the championship, but after this round, I'm certain the gap is going to tighten up significantly. And despite the screen freeze, about a lap and a half later, I'm back in his DRS, which goes to show the pace we had. And I'm going to attempt to make a move, even though with penalties, I would finish ahead. I still wanted to go for the overtake on track, just because, you know? Going through Sector 3, remember, I'm still on 2 warnings, so I have to be careful. I'm surprised with all the screen freezes. I have yet to receive a track limit warning, which I'm not complaining about. And I'm going to get into this DRS, use it to maybe get past on the main straight.
Oh!
But disaster strikes again, and he teleports ahead. I'm even laughing to myself here because at this point, there's nothing to be mad about anymore. It's just pure comedy, pure cinema. Despite the screen freeze, once again, until lap 28, the penultimate lap of the race, I'm once again back on the Red Bull's gearbox. I'm gonna go for the move here. My battery's pretty full. Using DRS, it should be no problem. We should clear him pretty easily. Now the question is, will I freeze again before we cross the start finish line one last time this race? Fortunately, no more screen freezes, at least for this race. And I'm going to bring it across the line, and it is going to be P10.
And in the end, I only managed to bring home 1 point, which is already better than no point at all. But still, when something like this that's completely out of your control happens out of seemingly nowhere, I was absolutely crushed. Anyways, I'm still gonna fight on, but it is a tough pill to swallow. In the meantime, stay safe, and I'll see you very soon. Bye-bye.